This is Brother Ron, and welcome to We All Be News Radio and TV, the news-free Dixie for the 21st century.
Wow. I mean, when you said that, I'm thinking about that they teaching this thing called new math and the fact they don't teach cursive writing no more in schools. Like everything, like you say, glamorizing dysfunction and mind crap. There's so many things that, I don't think people really know. Like, for example, what are your thoughts about the full pardon of Jack Johnson in the age of Me Too and all this other stuff? What are your thoughts about that?
I take it in the context of what Jack Johnson did for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
When Jack Johnson came along and he was in his prime before World War I,
mm-hmm.
1903, 1910, 1911, black folk were getting lynched on a regular basis. Jim Crow was in full force in effect. Black people didn't have any daylight at all. And here is a black Superman. He's knocking everybody out. And in those days, they did not have 12-round heavyweight bouts.
Mm-hmm.
It was you fought until somebody couldn't get back up or threw in the towel.
Mm-hmm.
And he was beating all of the great white hopes.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, somebody might get upset that I said that, using that same Roseanne Barr logic on it.
Mm-hmm.
But he was beating everybody's butt. And I can remember talking to a great uncle, grandfather, and everybody was proud of Jack Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
That was their Muhammad Ali.
Mm-hmm.
You see, great as Ali was, you had you had had some black champions before that, not least of whom was Joe Louis, who came 20-some years after Jack Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
See, he was the man that opened the door. And see, Jack Johnson wasn't just a thug who could box. Jack Johnson always dressed sharp.
Right.
He had custom clothes. And by the way, there was a champion white race car driver. And Jack Johnson bought expensive cars. He challenged him to a road race. And it was a dead heat.
Mm.
So he was the black Superman. And in a time when the black people did not have anything at all to point to, there was Jack Johnson standing and delivering.
Mm.
Whipping everybody and anything. So he served a very vital function for the black race in America. You had Marcus Garvey at that time, was trying to set up enterprise, and you had W.E. Du Bois trying to come up with an alternative rationalization to convince the Negro to get his act together to counter Booker T. Washington, whom Du Bois could not stand. He detested him. Or trying to tell people to pick up the pail instead of get your act together, learn to read, write, and get it together and get on top of things instead of being content to be on the bottom.
Right.
So that triumvirate, Garvey, Du Bois, and Johnson, that was the black hope in those days.
Mm-hmm.
So, incidentally, since we talk about him, guess how the FBI came into existence? To get Jack Johnson. FBI got created to investigate the need for what became the Mann Act, that is transporting females across state lines for what was felt to be an illicit purpose. Now, depending upon who you listen to, Jack Johnson was traveling with either his wife, that the state of Georgia did not recognize as being his wife, or his girlfriend, depending upon who you listen to.
Right.
But they traveled across a corner of Georgia, and when they got through Georgia, they got arrested. They were on their way to take a sea trip. So he got convicted, got sentenced to a year in a federal penitentiary. And what wound up happening is he skipped out on the country for 10 years and stayed in Europe. Came back because his mother was sick and surrendered himself and did his year in the penitentiary. So he was in his 60s when he got killed in a car wreck in the 1940s. 46, I think, or somewhere thereabouts.
Yeah, 46.
So everybody at that point was acknowledging that he set the stage for Joe Louis and ultimately Muhammad Ali and all of the other black champions. As a matter of fact, Sylvester Stallone got involved in it. I was wondering why he did it until he announced that actually the character Rocky, even though he was white, was based on Jack Johnson. And see, Congress over the years has on quite a few occasions recommended that Jack Johnson be given a full pardon. Most famously, Bush was willing to give him a partial one, and the only senator who abstained from voting for it was Barack Obama. And when Congress came up with another resolution to the president to grant a full pardon, Obama said he didn't have time to worry about somebody dead. Now, I see a lot of stuff out there on social media saying, why are we worried about somebody dead? Well, they've heard of Marcus Garvey. You've heard of Malcolm X. You've heard of Martin Luther King, but Jack Johnson used to be more famous than any of them.
Right.
But you see, what was he doing? He was whipping the crap out of white folk. So the white folk went on a concerted campaign to besmirch his name. And plus, you know, they had offenses in Memphis, Tennessee. Reckless eyeballing by colored person, to wit, casting a lingering gaze at a white female, or a colored person refusing to remove from sidewalk for passage of a white person, or acting too colored in public. See, Jack Johnson was thumbing his nose at the system and saying, take me down if you can. So they had to pass a federal law to get him.
Wow.
See, that was showing black pride, and people don't understand that.
What about the issue of him sleeping with white women that got him in trouble in the first place? I mean, I know some people I can
Well, you know, it's like that was in a time and place where a black man got lynched for looking at a white woman, but hell, he was flaunting them.
Right.
So here's this big giant of a black man who was obviously a black man who was whipping all of the great white hopes. And here he is, Superman, had all these white women hanging all over him. Can you imagine what the impact of that was on the people?
It was amazing. Like you said, they're lynching black folks every day. I mean, race riots will start if you want to fight. I mean, it's just like amazing that he would be able to have that type of fearlessness.
Yeah. He had
live his life.
Iron balls.
Yeah. I mean, he really lived his life.
Yeah. But you see, you have to give him his, you know, you got to give him his dues. So, yeah, full pardon for Jack Johnson. Now, isn't it a shame that it had to be Donald Trump instead of Barack Obama?
I mean, but look who was advisors. I mean, somebody told me like Valerie Jarrett was in his ear all the time. I don't know if she told him not to sign it for him, or I think about Eric Holder, whose sister-in-law was Vivian Malone, the civil rights activist.
All those sissies in that administration. Come on now.
Yeah, I just don't know why they couldn't do it, man. Like, I just don't.
I mean, have you ever seen these old-time films of Jack Johnson fighting?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
it's amazing.
His brother was rough.
Oh, yes. One of my favorites.
He hit people so hard they would get knocked out of the ring.
Yeah, I saw the one he did with Stanley Ketchum when they were doing a boxing exhibition in California. Stanley hit him one time, and he knocked the crap out of Stanley Ketchum, knocked his teeth out.
Man, he
was taking the teeth out of the gloves.
he was hitting folks so hard they bounced off the canvas.
Yeah, he was one of the greats, and a great defensive fighter too. I mean, one of the best. I mean, people tell on Floyd Mayweather Jr. and all these guys and Ali, but he's up there.
Yeah, he's a big man too.
Mm-hmm. The Galveston Giant. But we don't know about, a lot of us ain't aware of that history. Like, this is what the power of the media to make people aware of somebody like Jack Johnson. Like, they can, if you talk about anybody, they can focus attention on one thing or whatever, and it just comes viral.
Yeah. See,
that's crazy.
You have to understand. Black people walking down the sidewalk, staring at the sidewalk, afraid to look up because they might offend somebody white.
All right.
And here's Jack Johnson kicking everybody's butt and then hanging around with flaunting white women in everybody's face, and they couldn't do nothing with it.
That's right. It's amazing. It's amazing.
They had this great race car driver, Barney Oldfield, drove a Ford Motor Company, a race car driver.
Mm-hmm.
And Jack Johnson set up and whipped him.
Wow.
Driving a race car. Superman. That gave a lot of black pride. What would you think we reacted to in those days? I can remember seeing Ali, in my generation. I remember with a pride we had, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. He wasn't being quiet and dumb and whipping folk. He was talking smack and whipping them.
Yeah.
I am the greatest, and then proving it.
Yeah, I mean, he's a contrast with Joe Louis. I mean, like Joe Louis had to make those deals, though. I mean, he still was messing around with white women, but he couldn't brag about it. He couldn't brag about being so dominant in the ring and stuff like that. He had, they made sure they had Joe Louis under control.
This is 1903, 1910.
Mm-hmm.
The Klan is at its strongest ever, and Jack Johnson was flaunting everything. He smoked expensive $5 cigars.
Right.
Back when, they were looking for a good 5-cent cigar.
Mm-hmm.
He had custom-made suits made on Savile Row in London.
Mm.
And he wore fine linen and silk ties and custom-made shoes. And drove luxury cars.
Oh, man.
He was LeBron. He was, all of the rap stars rolled up into one, and he talked smack, too, like Muhammad Ali.
Oh, he was something else. He was definitely something else.
Yeah, so give him a full pardon.
What if Donald Trump pardoned Marcus Garvey too at the end? I don't know.
Well, I would appreciate it. The other thing too, I looked at. I don't particularly like him, but give him his dues. Black unemployment's at its lowest in 46 years.
That's fascinating. I mean, I just look at the fact that I looked at Fox News over the weekend. I don't really look at news, but I kind of looked at Fox News, and they're very much pro Donald Trump in terms of like MSNBC, but also it gives you a chance to a different look. Like when he got that guy out of prison down in Venezuela, the white Mormon guy, and I saw how he greeted the family and stuff. This is a human being. He's not just a monster. He's not he's a person. And he's actually getting stuff done that people said could not get. He might even end up meeting with North Korea. He's getting stuff done.
Yeah, all these folk talking all this trash, and then see the other thing. Let's get to China.
Mm-hmm.
Why is Cosmin up to China? Well, there's a very good reason. See, the rest of these scoundrels we've had in office since that fool St. Ron the Reagan, weren't letting you know that the reason that our economy was working is because the Chinese were stabilizing it. See, they stabilize all of the world's stock exchanges, including Wall Street. They have stabilized all the world's currencies including the dollar. They have more dollars, American dollars, than the U.S. government has of its own money.
Wow.
You know, so they keep everything flowing. You know, they have 78% of the world's manufacturing capacity. Think of that. The rest of the whole world only has 22% of the manufacturing capacity. They've got 78%. You look at stuff now, and damn near all of it's made in China someplace. You get a new iPhone. I ordered one of these new iPhone X's. And where did it say? It made 3 stops inside the Republic of China before it left the Asian continent to get shipped over here. They made it. Last year, they came up with the world's fastest computer system. I mean, guess what? Anybody that got into Star Trek, guess what they did? They beamed some real matter from the planet's surface to a satellite last year. Not much, but they did it.
Wow.
We haven't done it. So where do you think things are going? Yeah, you get nice to somebody. You know, Ronald Reagan, you know, his administration conned the whole damn country. Put everybody out of work, flat, broke, busted everybody, put a wedge in place between the haves and the have-nots, the ultra-rich and everybody else, cut the taxes so that Boeing aircraft was literally paying fewer tax dollars, literally, than a school teacher was back in 1982. Where'd the money come from to run the government? These scoundrels went and borrowed trillions of dollars from the People's Republic of China. And what has happened? We weren't even able to pay the Chinese their interest on a 25-year term loan that became due in 2007. What was our solution? Borrow more money from the Chinese. We're in hock up to our behinds with them.
Wow.
You know, so yeah, you act like you're civil. And part of the deal, probably I'd be willing to wager money was, okay, we won't demand interest payments and upset your economy. And by the way, your predecessor, Barack Obama, borrowed several $1 trillion from us. You know, you guys haven't even paid the interest, let alone on the principal. That's 11 years you haven't paid a dime. What would they do on something?
Wow.
Foreclose on your behind and come and repossess.
I mean, this is the American way, it seems. Have to, pay what you owe. That's just the mentality of America.
Yeah, but we haven't been.
Yeah. Never, I don't think,
And think what the loan sharks do. You know, we'll loan you the money. It's up to you to afford to figure out how many bones you can afford to have broken if you don't pay it back.
Right. It is insane, Judge. It's crazy.
Remember, world's fastest computer system. They grounded the whole multi-billion-dollar F-35 fleet 9 years ago. We still haven't gotten the software back up and running right. They teleported some matter from the planet's surface to a satellite like they're playing Star Trek last year. We can't do that. Yeah.
Wow.
You're cool. General Motors sells more cars in China than they do in America.
Wow.
You have 1,360,000,000 Chinese. We only have 320 million people. They got 1.2 billion more than we do.
Wow.
Now, you want to go sit there and talk smack to somebody like that? But some folk, these chicken hawk Democrats want to go do that. They used to be the pacifists, and now they're talking bad.
Oh, yeah.
And then what's going to happen if they get power again? They're going to start talking about who pisses in the girls' bathroom.
So you said you feel like they're going to win the midterm?
I don't know. I think they're going to be kind of close.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think about Kamala here? I heard that Bernie might run in 2020, but also about Elizabeth Warren.
Who? Elizabeth Warren?
Right. I heard some things about it.
Ask the hell out of it before we get another disaster. The only person in this country that can beat Trump is Bernie Sanders.
Mm. Well, we might see. I just hope that, man, you think that the Democratic Party will allow him to actually win the nomination?
Well, I'm kind of turned off by the Democratic Party because what I've seen with them locally and on the national and on the state and on the local level, state level, and on the national level is they don't want anybody but a woman in there.
It is. I mean, because yeah. They're determined by 2020. That's the 100th anniversary of the women getting the right to vote, right? They want.
Yeah, I know.
All the symbolism.
What's that got to do with anything?
I agree
like
with you.
Thurgood Marshall said when he retired, he knew Clarence Thomas was going to get nominated. They asked him about it. He said, "Yeah, I got a feeling I'm going to get nominated." He said, but let me just say this. He had a real gravelly voice.
Mm-hmm.
Black snake will bite you just as quick as a white one.
He had a good point.
If it's a female and it's incompetent, it's just incompetent as a man. Just as incompetent as an incompetent man.
Mm.
So we're running around here instead of trying to find somebody who's best suited to take on Trump. They just want a woman, any woman. Wow. And they aren't concerned about her qualifications. And they ran up into that mess with Hillary. All of that superdelegate nonsense was put in place several decades ago so she could be the first woman. Mm-hmm. And what did it get everybody? One of the most detested candidates in recent history running for president. And she got them behind with good and proper.
Definitely.
And interestingly enough, every poll that was taken predicted the popular vote would come out just as it did, which she got it. But it also showed that, guess what? It wasn't in the right places, and she would lose the Electoral College. And she did, just as predicted.
Mm-hmm. But
it was predicted that Bernie Sanders would have won handily. But we didn't get him because we got the fix going on to get that witch.
Mm.
And I don't like her because all during the 60s, she was a Republican. She campaigned for Barry Goldwater, that racist dog. And she campaigned for I am not a crook, Tricky Dick Nixon. And in Chicago, she was trying to keep the dormitories at the University of Illinois segregated. And along with her mommy and daddy, she was trying to keep the Chicago suburbs segregated, too. Bernie was going to jail as a chair of a core chapter, but we don't know that because we know about the Kardashians, Atlanta Housewives, NBA, NFL, and all the rest of it. And remember, it's not black men that have any damn thing to do with it. It's all of the black women that are the swing issue in politics, not black men.
Man, something that I just. There's nothing. Yeah, I like the Roseanne Barr. I forgot she ran for president on the Green Party, right? A couple of years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, we were talking about her earlier. Like, I think about Rosie O'Donnell too when you said her. And both these folks are known for being very outspoken on their political views or their worldview. And I was wondering with Roseanne, and how much of that is this really? Like you said earlier, her being a Trump supporter, or her just her politics in general.
Yep.
How much of that you think people just take offense to versus just?
I think she was a sacrificial lamb.
Mm-hmm.
Because I promise you, I had no idea that that woman that they were talking about was supposed to be a black woman.
Right. I don't think a lot of you know who she was anyway. I mean, I know that Obama's a popular president, but she's like really like wasn't that visual to me. I mean, she's more like a behind the scenes person or something.
Well, apparently in her mid-60s, but I don't know that much about her, man. More power to her, but, you know, Obama, I've been back on his administration, and I can't think of anything he did.
I mean, like, what about Obamacare, right? Or Frisk care, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, well, Obamacare, hell, for Americans' affordable health care, that was Bill Frisk, GOP senior senator from the state of Tennessee. Senate Majority Leader, Republican Senate Majority Leader. He drafted it. The only thing that I can think of in any major legislation was that Economic Incentive Act, which is the largest single bill in the history of the country, $781 billion for the benefit of Goldman Sachs, who finances Barack Obama's trust fund.
Oh, yeah, and also I think about the DREAM Act. DACA, is it DACA?
Yeah, I mean, what did he do? Did he appoint anybody black to the U.S. Supreme Court to offset that abominable handkerchief-head House Negro Clarence Thomas? No.
Oh, marriage equality?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What did that do for us?
I mean, it's just like
jobs for us? No. Wall Street got put back in the mix, but I guess that was some more Reaganomics trickle-down nonsense. It didn't work back in the 80s. It didn't work then either. Didn't work now.
It's like
what did it do?
Huh? Well, you know, it seemed like when you just said that, I was thinking about, Woodrow Wilson, how he was like a academic and all this stuff, but he said one of his biggest mistakes, or the biggest mistake of his presidency, was signing the Federal Reserve into law. You know what I'm saying? Like, I look at Obama, he was dominated. His biggest campaign contributor back in 2008 was Goldman Sachs, but Goldman Sachs was already in the federal government before that.
Yeah, well, Goldman Sachs, he also financed most of his stepdaddy's oil adventures when it came to around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Goldman Sachs is exempt from the banking laws that require that all banks have a certain percentage of their accounts on deposit in cash, either in their own vaults or with the Federal Reserve. Wow. They don't have that.
Wow.
So the deal is they know so much about finance, we'll let them go, and if they get in trouble, we'll back them up.
They're too big to fail.
Get that term, too big to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And then he hires their number one consultant, Geithner, to be the Treasury Secretary, and I'm still mad about Geithner being indicted for defrauding the federal government out of millions of dollars in taxes, and he gets a $42,000 fine and 6 months suspended. And Wesley Snipes, who overpaid his taxes by $250,000, he gets 3 years in a federal penitentiary.
Wow. Man, I guess too big to fail and above the law. Wow.
Exactly. And then the fact of the thing is Obama, through his family, the Sotoros and the Bushes, are long-term family, friends, and Confederates.
Mm-hmm.
So where are you going with that?
Wow.
They run game on us, and we're so susceptible.
But what can people, you look at people not filing their taxes or whatnot, or not paying their fair share. Yeah, you got some of the people, like a lot of us, we want to obey the law. And is it really our fault that we allow these people to do what they're doing to us? Like, keep on investing in their system or way of doing things? We keep on voting for the same people?
Let's talk about the fault. Memphis is the largest predominantly black city in America.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, we had 54% of the population was black. Now is 46% black, 32% Hispanic, and not quite 10% white. Now, why in the devil does what we have running this city look like it looks? Why in the devil do we have what we have in the Ninth Circuit is the congressman? Why in the devil do we have what it is looking like the county government does? Only 23.9% of the registered voters in the county are white. Only 19.1% of the registered voters in the city are white. But look what the devil it looks like when it comes to who runs stuff. We've got a Democratic majority on the county commission, and all they've got to do is pass a simple majority vote. The money's in the bank to replace all these corrupted, deballed voting machines, but they won't do it. Nobody holds them to account.
Wow.
That's why. Who are your judges? You listen to all of these shysters who go around and pass out sample ballots to get you to vote for what's on there when they've got money for putting people on there. It doesn't have anything to do with somebody's merit. And we vote because we're too damn lazy to go find out what's going on. You have all of these black folk in this town, and you got a corrupt DA. And what is the deal? This is the largest predominantly black city in America. And guess what the Justice Department says about it? The sentences for simple possession of marijuana are the stiffest in the whole United States of America, bar none. And we've got one strong black judge down there, Glenn Wright, on the criminal bench. What in the devil's wrong with us?
Wow.
See, that's our fault. We talking about what we get jacked up around here. The police can do anything and get away with it. They don't get convicted. Well, why in the hell do we keep excusing ourselves from jury duty? So justice is just us. Main question, Judge, I don't want to take up your time, but I got summons to jury duty. What do I need to tell them so I can get out? I'm not telling you a damn thing. You need to be on it.
Wow.
Half the folk go to jail. See, I'll tell you, black folk get railroaded in this system. But half the damn time what they're down there for is not playing Robin Hood. It's for ripping off their neighbor. You know, we do that to ourselves. All of the times they've got this on television and everywhere. You grow up, you hear it in elementary school. You have a right to be silent, remain silent. Why in the hell do we shoot our mouths off so bad? You got OG fool up in there going for bad, and then you, the judge, you look at the video of his confession, you got snot running out his nose, tears running down. Oh, mama, mama. Singing his behind off, confessing. 97.8%, 97.6%, it varies, of the people in the American penitentiaries pled guilty. Just a little more than 2% got found guilty by a jury. 85+% confessed. And I hear all this stuff about, you got all the righteous brothers locked up. No, they're not righteous. They stole from their neighbors, their mamas, their aunts, their grandparents, from old folk, from women. Did wrong, spreading poison. Yeah, the drug thing's bad. The laws are inequitous. You can get a kilo of coke and wind up getting no more time than somebody who's got 5, 6 rocks. They want to lean on you, but we don't need to spread poison in our communities. You know, there's some things we don't think about. What are we going to do? Okay, I'm somebody asked me today about reparations. I said, good, I wouldn't mind a little bit of money for reparations, but you know, how are you going to get it? Well, we need to file a lawsuit. Well, if you file a lawsuit, it's still up to Congress and the Senate to pass a bill to fund it. So do you think this Congress that you got right now is going to do it? You think your local congressman would vote for it? How about your U.S. Senator from the state of Tennessee? Certainly not. And then on the other bloody hand, how would you establish who's entitled to it? You've got old Sally Hemings got it on with Thomas Jefferson, maybe against her will, maybe not. But we know that he's got descendants who look like ordinary white people next door. Did they get piece of the money, piece of the change? How about our last president? He has no ancestry from America's slave period. Do his children get it? They'd have to get it through their mama, not him.
Oh, really?
I mean, why would he be entitled to reparations? He grew up in one of the 10, 15 richest families on earth. He didn't suffer for anything. He wasn't born in the continental U.S. He was born in Hawaii. He didn't grow up in the continental U.S. First time he saw a hood, he was in his late 20s when Daddy got him a job at one of his shadow companies in Chicago. So what harm did he get? What about all of the folk that passed? Are you going to have a DNA test? If you have a DNA test, what percentage of black do you have to have in you before you qualify? And when did the black come in? Was it somewhere after slavery? Or did it occur before 1865? I'd love to get reparations, but give a little thought to how it's going to be working out.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What if the kids want it and the parents say shut up? I'm not going to admit to that. I've been passing. See, that was a whole lot of that. And by the way, a whole lot of look like true blue white people have more black in them than a whole lot of folk that look more black than they do. See, the black genetics don't always manifest as to facial features.
Yeah. I was thinking about that, like you said, like the Valley Jerry. She could pass, or you can't really tell if she's black or what she is.
Yeah. So who gets the money?
But more about the case with the Cherokee Nation got sued by the descendants of freemen, and the judge agreed to not only give them reparations, but also make them full citizens within the nation. Could that be used as a blueprint for, like, trying to get reparations?
No, because their status is established by a treaty. Treaties are part of the supreme law of the land, along with the Constitution and such acts as may be promulgated by Congress to give effect to the Constitution.
You said last part again, Judge. You said
treaties are, Constitution of the United States says treaties are part of the supreme law of the land. The other parts of the supreme law of the land, well, let's put it where it says, the supreme law of the land shall consist of the Constitution, such acts as promulgated by Congress to give effect to the Constitution, and such treaties as are ratified by the Senate. And see, this stuff is part of the treaties they signed with the various Indian nations. They're part of the supreme law of the land. It also says all judges, federal and state, shall enforce these treaties and the provisions thereof.
Okay. Well, interesting. I mean, I was thinking about that case.
We don't have a treaty. We were property. They exercised effectively eminent domain, like they're going to put in a parking lot or a highway. So they confiscated the property. They didn't even compensate the white folk for their loss of use of us. Not that they deserved it. And by the way, let's talk about slavery. See, a lot of people are in for a rude awakening because the 13th Amendment did not totally outlaw slavery. Slavery is legal and lawful if it is imposed upon due process of law as a punishment for a criminal offense.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody got 20 years in the penitentiary. Some state legislature wanted to go along with it. They could declare that unavailable punishment will be, a period of slavery or involuntary servitude to the highest bidder. That's legal. The demographics are changing. In 30 years, they say that this will no longer be a majority white country. I can see some of these southern legislatures saying, let's solve the problem. Let's reinstitute slavery as a punishment for a criminal offense. Look at all these colored folk we got in the penitentiary now.
Mm-hmm.
See, and the other problem we have is, we don't get it. Your adversary says, give me liberty or give me death. I regret that I have but one life to give for my country. Better dead than red.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do we say?
Oh, we shall overcome and
Yeah.
study war no more.
You see, you need to understand that there are going to have to be some modifications of our ideation and mindset if we're ever going to get free.
Mm-hmm.
The guy, you ever heard of Paul Tibbets?
Paul Tibbets?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds familiar, but go ahead, sir. Educate us.
He's a white man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what his place in world history is?
What is it?
He organized the 509th Composite Group that put the B-29s in action and refined them and trained to drop the 2 atomic bombs that got dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Mm.
And you know what he did? He said they were some ferocious fighters. I sleep well at night because I think of the high casualty counts that would have come about in American and Japanese lives if we hadn't dropped the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
You do know that the American government was looking at fighting Japan in the Japanese main islands as more dangerous than fighting the Nazis. But you know what Tibbets said?
What do you say?
Sure. I drive a Toyota. It's a well-made car.
Okay.
You get the point?
Uh-huh.
In other words, he has his choice. He wouldn't have to buy a car. They'd give it to him. But he chose a Japanese Toyota.
Mm-hmm.
But like somebody white told me years ago, so Lawyer Brown, one of the problems that your people has, they never fought the white man.
Mm.
And he said, the Indians did. He said, and they named trains and places after Indians. What did they name after black men? Nothing.
Mm.
He said, my brother got wounded in Iwo Jima. On Iwo Jima, his wife has a Toyota in the driveway. I got wounded in the Ardennes. That's the Battle of the Bulge, fighting Nazis. My wife's got a Mercedes in the driveway.
Wow.
Should I have another brother brought home a German wife, and the one that got wounded on Iwo Jima wound up bringing home a Japanese wife?
That's interesting.
You see?
Yeah.
They have had many American governors who proudly claim Indian ancestry, Native American ancestry.
Mm. Even Elizabeth Warren.
when the 82nd Airborne or the 101st Airborne did that thing in World War II, what did they say when they jumped out of an airplane? Geronimo. Anybody yelling Marcus Garvey or Nat Turner or Kane Mark Vesey? Frederick Douglass? No, they named they yelled their enemy, Geronimo.
That's a great point.
What black style of fighting do they have that all the kids work on now? Is it a black style? No, they study karate, martial arts. Think of something Japanese. See, what do we add to this mix? We don't. We think about, like you said, we shall overcome, and how much we slip in the correction plate. We get to thinking about mechanical devices that can take somebody somewhere, take something someplace, or wreck a whole lot of places. What do we do? We do hip hop and boogie. Play basketball. Like that, remember that movie, White Man Can't Jump? You know what they were saying is a comeback?
What?
Yeah, but we can pay your people to jump.
Yeah, that's true. I saw that this past weekend. Yep. How about
why didn't we back up Kaepernick by starting an NFL team? Who amongst us has that kind of financial backing? Magic Johnson has a piece of the L.A. Rams and the Dodgers, but, you know, where else? What league is he going to start up? See, we don't think about that. See, you get somebody black, and see, it isn't a racial thing. It's a cultural thing. You go down to Jamaica. Hey, man, I got to go to bed, man. I got to get up open my shop, man. It's 7 a.m. when sun come up, man. It's on Queen Elizabeth Highway, man. And he's got a tar paper shack place where he sells fruit. But he is carefully calculating his profit and loss margins. He sits around hollering they sit around a dinner table like a lot of other people and discuss business. We sit around, start loud talking, disrupting the restaurant because we talking mess about who said what to who.
Right.
I don't want to. The one that always gets me, why are you always talking about politics? Who cares? Well, I do. You don't. That's why your ass is so broken, downtrodden, because you don't.
Yes, sir.
We have to start thinking differently. We have what it takes. We just don't. It's like you got a machine that can do great things if you know how to operate it. You just never learn how to operate it. You see, we have the wrong problem. We're out playing basketball. You're in the 11th grade and you're 5'6", and you're out there playing basketball. You got basketball down, but who's going to have you playing at 5'6"? You'd do much better to put your nose in those magic books so you could work some magic and get yourself ahead.
Wow.
You know, you went off and tied 20% of your income to the preacher. Why do you do that? I mean, if you've got 20% of your income, 20% of your income is more than most people have to put toward developing a business. We don't see. We have to start thinking like free people. I talk to women, and they're talking about how they're trying to protect their sons. I say, well, you know, the thing about boys is they're supposed to grow up to be men, and the thing about men is they're supposed to be expendable. It's women and children in the lifeboat first. And the men, if there's any leftover room, put a few in the lifeboat to row and make sure nothing happens to the women and children, and the rest of the folk go down with the ship.
Yes, sir.
You don't think that way. You know, your son's supposed to be a man. That means you're supposed to be telling him, son, you know, if it comes down to it, you got to be ready to die for the right cause. See, people, even black people, will go off and die for cause of our country. It strikes me as strange that we aren't willing to die for freedom. And see, a whole lot of people talk a lot of nonsense sitting around a table. I'd say 1 out of every 100 that talks that will stand up and say it to white people.
Well, Judge, thank you so much for this powerful, enlightening conversation. As usual, you always deliver. Do you have any closing words or thoughts?
I'm not trying to badmouth us. I'm just trying to do what preachers used to do, which is you point out the error of somebody's ways and indicate to those who can think about it and have the capacity to concentrate on it what they need to do to get their acts together. I want us to get our acts together. It's time. It's been 153 years since the end of the Civil War. We operate on the basis of what we expect someone to give to us. It's time to get of a mindset that we don't ask any damn more, we take it, or if we don't take it, we make it so damn difficult for us not to get it, that they'll do it any damn way, not to have to put up with the inconvenience that we will cause.
Thank you, Judge, for that. That's very important. And ladies and gentlemen, you can reach Judge Joe Brown on social media at Judge Joe Brown TV on Twitter.
And also, you can catch some of the reruns on Bounce TV. That's channel 906, I believe, locally on Comcast Xfinity.
That's excellent. Well, thank you, Judge, so much once again, like I said, for always delivering, for being consistent, and for being for the people. In the words of the great DeGuttun, we love you madly. Keep on producing and pushing.
All right, brother. Keep faith in the struggle. We'll
yes,
get
sir.
there one day.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right, peace.